There is not much I love more than an incredibly powerful woman in heavy music. So I cannot tell you how stoked I am to have Lzzy Hale of the band HALESTORM here chatting to Kill Your Stereo. Welcome, Lizzie.
Thank you so much for having me, darling. This is amazing, and it's so great to be speaking with Australia again.
Hell yeah, we've kind of been tucked away, locked off to the entire world for 2 years. So it's nice to be connecting with anyone outside of our country.
Oh, absolutely, right?
Your fifth studio album, Back from the Dead, is out on May 6th. Just 1 month to go. How much are you looking forward to your first release in 4 years?
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready. I mean, it's like we were joking, a couple months ago because we're like, oh, it's going to be so long to wait. Like we should just, oops, we leaked it on the internet, but then everyone would be mad at me. But no, we're very excited. It's just so wonderful to be releasing new music and going back out on tour again. It's a whole different type of elevated energy now, because everyone's just thrilled that we're at least it seems like we're making it through the other side, and we're here and we're back and we're doing it. And it's amazing to see everybody, both audience and on stage, just playing the shows and talking about the music like it's going to be stolen from them again. So it's no one's taking anything for granted.
Yeah, I love that. What a great take. Speaking of, not being able to do it for a while and having everything kind of taken away from you, I know you've mentioned you begun writing this record before COVID hit, and then once the lockdowns hit, the album kind of became about your journey from a pretty dark place. That's incredibly relatable, and I definitely felt like I was on a journey with you while I was listening to the record. Can you explain a little bit of the detail around creating Back from the Dead?
First of all, thank you so much for those kind words. I was hoping that this album would be that journey, and that's part of the reason we spent so much time on the sequence because of that. Because I really wanted to just kind of it was very important for me to write really just in the present, and say exactly what I was feeling, especially in the middle of everything, because I went through somewhat of a small identity crisis, and it was hard to be away from the things that you love the most, away from the people that you love the most, and really for the first time, because even when we were joking earlier this week, like, well, even when I was 13 and 14, when we first started HALESTORM, we at least had like a bowling alley gig twice a month, so it was the longest we had ever gone without this thing that really is just an extension of who we are. So we all kind of had to look at ourselves in a different way and try to figure out who we are without all of that. And everything, there's nothing that you can control, there's nothing that you can really plan on. So the only weapon in my arsenal was really to just write my way through it. And the beautiful thing about that is that I rediscovered the reason that I love writing, and the reason I love putting things down on paper is because it really is a way for me to deal with what's going on in my head. It helped. And at first, especially after lockdown hit, there was this roller coaster ride of, all right, well, this is only going to last a little while. Cool. Let's like have a vacation and just we'll hunker down and we'll deal with this thing. And then when you just kind of saw how dark the world started getting and people started kind of losing their minds a little bit, I can't tell you how many pandemic breakups and divorces from all of my friends, and everybody was starting to just go a little insane, and myself included. And I was questioning again who I am without this, but also strangest things, where you're saying, well, do I even like any music? Like music anymore? Am I going to be able to make it through this? Am I going to want to do this after it's done? Am I going to get to jam with my bandmates again, all in one room? All of these things that you're thinking about. And the funniest thing about writing from that personal perspective is that it becomes, now looking at the album, it became so much more universal by writing from that personal spot, because you realize that you totally were not alone. There were millions of other people that were going through the same thing that you're going through. So it was important for me to right through my own journey. And now I just can't wait for the album to come out, because I know that both with, our fans that have followed us for years, but also even if you're listening to Hailstorm for the first time, you're going to be able to see yourself in some of these songs, because, again, proving again, we're not alone. We're all in this together. We all feel the same way. So, yeah. And it's so funny, because as soon as we released the single Back from the Dead, and we played that out for the first time live, and I'm like, oh my God, this was exactly what I wanted to feel when, during the song. Because you're almost trying to recreate the scene, it's like with even just musically with all of us, everybody's on 11, because we're like, okay, so now we're kind of finally writing a record, but we don't know if we're going to be able to release it. We don't know if we're ever going to play it live. So you just go all in, put everything in there. You write your truth, you play your truth, and you go hard or go home. So yeah, if there's a little bit of angst in there, we had to get it out somehow.
Oh, I'm not mad about it. And if I had the time, I would love to sit here and literally chat through every single track with you. But obviously I can't keep you all to myself. So I just wanted to pick out a couple of my key favorites and touch on them. So one of the big standouts is Bright Side. It covers some pretty emotionally charged lyrics, and you can tell it comes out of a pretty heavy place, but it's still got this optimistic twist to it. And I guess if I had to sum the album up, that's kind of what it feels like, right? It's like this angsty record with an optimistic twist. Bright Side in particular being my favorite. I wanted to ask you, have you got a favorite that we haven't heard yet that you're really excited to get out there?
Honestly, Bright Side was I thought was so fun. And same thing with Strange Girl. Some of the instrumentation was a lot of fun. I don't know. It's really hard, because there really wasn't. This is probably the first album where I'm like, there isn't one that I would be like, oh, I don't want to play that live. Everything is great. Wicked Ways was so much fun. I've been I did use a lot of the downtime to kind of expand a little bit vocally, and learn how to kind of push that edge a little bit more. So yeah, I'm just screaming my head off on this record. But with Bright Side, ironically, I think that's probably one of the darkest subjects. But it's you go through these ups and downs, and when we all went through these ups and downs, where you're trying very hard not to lose faith in humanity, but you also kind of want to say screw it, so to me that was a very debaucherous song, where it's and almost in a very sarcastic way. And there are small inklings, even though I didn't really focus around this, but there's certain lines, especially in the the middle of everything, where I say, well, nobody likes you. And when everyone was so obsessed with their character online, because that was the only social interaction. So it became the social media thing became it was the replacement for real life. And then that in itself was scary, and just the hate for hate's sake. And I'm just like, guys, we're supposed to be all in this together. It's a global pandemic. We should all be hey, we're gonna get through this together. And it's it almost did the opposite. It was just very strange. So yeah, that was one of my favorite ones to write as well.
One of the other songs I really wanted to touch on is Terrible Things. It kind of feels like it's this reflection moment for everything going on in the world, not just particularly when you wrote it, but it's incredibly relevant now as well. It kind of changes the pace of the record as well, and I guess all the songs are powerful in their own way, with tracks like that are so different from what's on the record. And then all of these, we touched on angsty and powerful ones where you've got these huge vocals. I wanted to ask, how do you choose what you're going to perform live? Surely you just want to sing them all, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be the hardest decision to make, because one of the blessings and the curses of being, a band for this long, and now this is our fifth full-length record, and along with we actually have a full album worth of B-sides too, where we were being quite irresponsible in the studio. Well, it's funny, because when we all first got together for the first time since lockdown, we didn't do many things that were very constructive at first. We just wanted to jam and just be creative and come up with stuff. So there's a bunch of really weird songs that I'm sure will trickle their way out either on a deluxe edition or something like that, because that's what we do. But with I don't know, it's interesting to try to fit all of your favorites, because I want to play the entire record. At the same time, what are we going to take out? I Miss the Misery or I'm the Fire? So the way that sometimes we remedy that is we are, you know, we are a band that's kind of, we've stuck to kind of the grassroots of this rock thing where it's just the four of us playing. We don't use any tracks, no miming, no lip syncing, no click tracks, no nothing. Yeah. It's just the four of us playing. So we end up switching up the set every night. We don't just do one single set per tour.
Yeah, nice.
And so most likely, you know, and especially because our fans are crazy and they come to like 8 shows in a row. So, you know, it's like, if you're coming to multiple shows, most likely you'll get to hear the whole thing eventually. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to playing these new songs out live. And the beautiful thing about, we've only played 3 and a half of the new songs out live, because I teased a half a song on our last tour. And it was so beautiful to just match up these moments that you had in your head while you were recording them, and you see the audience feel that same, you know, elevation and those moments happening, you know, that you were hoping were going to happen in your head when you're you know, performing them in the studio and writing the song. It's so beautiful to see. With Terrible Things, that's probably the quietest you'll hear my voice on the album. Yeah, that is absolutely me trying not to lose faith in humanity, and also just looking at the world. It's like you said, it's relevant right now, even beyond the pandemic, beyond everything. Mm-hmm. You're seeing, you know, us devolving as humans, yeah. And you know, the blind leading the blind, and the stupid leading the other stupid. And it's just, you know, it's disheartening, because I want to have faith in humanity and I want to believe that people are inherently good. And so how do you keep that through all of that? Because I have to have hope. I have to, or else, you know, what's all this for? So, so this was just kind of, you know, my way of putting that out there.
I love it. It's a definite standout as well. On a complete another note, there's a graphic novel that you've just announced, Hyde Manor. It's available for pre-order now. Knowing that going into listening to the record, I don't know, I already mentioned I felt like I was on a journey while listening to the record. So then I kind of was like, well, knowing there's this story in Hyde Manor, do they somewhat marry up, I guess is what I wanted to ask.
They do, actually. And the only reason that they do is because there is this core just sensibility as to what we are as a band, and who I am inherently. And I have always, you know, pretty much since the second record been very, maybe even since the first record, I'm not sure, or maybe before that, I've always been quite obsessed with the juxtaposition between the dark and light in myself, in humanity. And so when we were talking to, there's a man named Josh Bernstein who we've known for years, and he's kind of like he's a man of many hats. And so he approached us. He's like, by the way, I'm like working for this comic thing now. And I'm like, seriously? And I'm like, you know, we've always wanted to do some kind of graphic novel thing. And basically him and his you know, his partners in the business started going through all of our music videos and everything thematic that we were doing, and we all started kind of like talking about, well, you know, there is kind of this, they go together in some weird way, you know, that we didn't even plan at all during our career. Because how can you actually do that? I'm not, you know, I fly by the seat of my pants most days. I'm not a big planner, but it was funny because we, you know, so we were kind of putting all that together, and then we got together with now they've become some of our dear friends, the Winter Twins, who are actually currently finishing up the story, and they just put everything in perspective. And so it's this dark story, and there's you know, a lot of weird sci-fi situations going on, and but all of us are in it as characters, but this like elevated version of who we are, this amplified version of who we each are individually. So we were reading, we went back and forth with a couple of like summaries as to like what the story could be, and the one that we all decided on, we were like reading to each other like it was a bedtime story. It was like, ooh, ghost stories, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and something, like I said, we want to do for a long time. So it'll be something fun, something different outside of the music, but also kind of goes along with everything that people may know about us, and also some things that maybe they don't.
I love it. I can't wait to read it. Awesome. Okay, everyone, the record is explosive. Make sure you pre-order Back from the Dead now. Thank you so much, Lizzy, for your time. I hope we get to see you in Australia soon, and all the best with the album launch.
We literally just had a meeting a few hours ago about putting together a tour for all of you. So yes, fingers crossed it all works out, but I can't wait to see all of you guys in person. Woo!
Awesome. Can't wait. Thank you so much. Good luck with the release.
Thank you, darling. So great to see you.
Thanks.